We'll now move on to our panel session 1 on strategic industry and economic diplomacy. I would like to call to all our speakers, Her Excellency Retno Marsudi, Minister for Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Indonesia, His Excellency Raila Odinga, African Union High Representative for Infrastructure Development, His Excellency Kirunda Kivejinja, Uganda's Second Deputy Prime Minister and Minister for East African Community Affairs, His Excellency Cheikh Kante, Minister Delegate in charge of Senegal Emergent, Mr. Budiman Saleh, President Director PT PAL Indonesia, Tumiyana, President Director PT Wijaya Karya TBK, Mr. Budi Noviantoro, President Director PT Industri Kereta Api. Kami undang juga moderator. For the moderator, Timothy Marbun. Please kindly take your seats.
Morning. Sorry.
I will now give the floor to Mr. Moderator.
Thank you very much. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Bali, especially for those of you who is the first time in Bali. I'm sure you'll have a pleasurable time here in Bali. Bu Retno could guarantee that, I guess. Once again, welcome, Excellency Bu Retno Marsudi, Excellency Raila Odinga, Excellency Mr. Muwabe, Excellency Kante, Pak Budiman Saleh, Pak Tumiyana, dan juga Pak Budi Noviantoro. Welcome and thank you everyone for being here. We will be opening the first panel for today. And also I would like to open for questions for everyone here. You can submit your questions through Slido. I believe we will be showing on the screen how you can submit questions through Slido. You go to the website in your gadget or in your phone or your tablet, and you just type sli.do and follow the hashtag there, and you can submit your questions through those slides. So once again, we'll be opening our first talks. We will be focusing on strategic industries and economic diplomacy. So I would like to read a short introduction to all our speakers here. I'm sorry that we don't have short introductions for you all. You have done great work so far, so this is as short as we could get. First of all, of course, Minister Marsudi is the first female Minister of Foreign Affairs of Indonesia. Since Ibu Marsudi assumed office as Foreign Minister, Indonesia has continued. Thank you. Indonesia has continued its leadership role and strived to be part of the solution to many regional and global issues. And her leadership has shown when Indonesia hosted, among others, the 60th Commemorative Asian African Conference on April 2015. So I'm sure a lot of you were here, an extraordinary summit of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, or OIC, on Palestine, and Al-Quds Al-Sharif in Jakarta in 2016, and the first IORA summit in 2017. She also served as the Indonesian ambassador for the Kingdom of Norway and the Republic of Iceland, and also Indonesian ambassador to the Kingdom of the Netherlands. Please give another round of applause to Ibu Marsudi. introduction to Excellency Odinga. Excellency Odinga is currently the leader of the opposition coalition known as the National Super Alliance. In October 2018, Mr. Odinga was appointed as the Africa Union High Representative for Infrastructure Development in Africa, and until present. Mr. Odinga was the Prime Minister of the Republic of Kenya, and the hallmark of Mr. Odinga's life and career has been his role in the struggle for freedom and democracy in Kenya since the 1970s. Mr. Odinga has received honors and recognition for his various roles, including lately an honorary Doctor of Letters degree from the University of Nairobi for his role in restoring peace to Kenya following the controversial 2007 elections. He's also a businessman, entrepreneur, and he founded the Spectre International. Please give a round of applause to Excellency Odinga. My introduction to Excellency Muwabe. Excellency Muwabe holds a Bachelor of Science in Zoology and Honorary Doctorate of Law from Islamic University in Uganda. He is currently serving as Uganda's second Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of East African Community Affairs. And positions that he has held, among others, are Minister of Internal Affairs, Member of Parliament for Bugweri County, the Minister of Information and National Guidance. This is one of the long CVs that I have to shorten out. Mr. Muwabe, Minister of Works, Transport and Communication, Minister of State for Foreign Affairs, Minister of Information, Minister of Transport and Communication, Minister of Rehabilitation, and also was elected by the people of Bugweri County to deliberate on national constitution, which was promulgated in 1995. Please give a round of applause to Excellency Muwabe. My next speaker is Excellency Kante. He obtained certificate in law capacity from Cheikh Anta Diop University and higher technical certificate of accounting and business management. Also holds a master's degree, International Management Training Program, African Center for Higher Studies in Management. I'm going to go to what he does now. He is currently serving as Minister Delegate in charge of Senegal Emergent. And prior to his position, he served as Minister in charge of monitoring the emerging Senegal Plan, Director General of the Independent Port of Dakar, Ministry of Rural Development, Commissariat for Food Security, Deputy General Manager of Mitsubishi Corporation for West Africa, which oversees 21 countries, Chief Executive Officer of the SEMAC or GLAC Group, and he is also the head of University of St. Louis and president of the University of African Excellence. Please give a round of applause to Excellency Kante. Now, these are some of the strategic industry heads in Indonesia. The first is Pak Budiman Saleh. He is the president director of PT PAL. He obtained his bachelor degree from Institut Teknologi Bandung. Master of Industrial and Manufacturing Engineering from Oregon State University, where he also received his doctorate. Prior to his current position, he held various director positions in PT Dirgantara Indonesia, with his last directorial position as Director of Commerce and Restructurization. Please give a round of applause to Pak Budiman Saleh. Pak Tumiyana is the President Director of PT Wijaya Karya Persero. I'm sure, please, Pak Tumiyana. I'm sure many of African counterparts here are familiar with Wijaya Karya, with their works in Africa and the nations. He obtained his bachelor degree in civil engineering from Universitas Borobudur, Jakarta, and master from Jakarta Institute of Management Studies. So you've already gave a round of applause to Pak Tumiyana. Move on to Pak Budi Noviantoro. Pak Budi Noviantoro is the President Director of PT Industri Kereta Api Persero. And he has held a successful career at PT Kereta Api Indonesia, holding Managing Director of Logistics and Development as his last position. So as everyone has a very great CV I have read here, I'm sorry to cut short. I'm sure I cut off 90% of your works, but apologies for the time limit. So once again, thank you very much, everyone, for your time. Excellencies, thank you very much for your time. I'm sure that coming to Bali for the Indonesia-Africa Infrastructure Dialogue today, we hope to bring more ideas and also execute more of those ideas in our respective countries. Now, I'd like to start with Excellency Marsudi. Bu Retno, if you would like to tell us the government initiative in the Indonesia-Africa infrastructure dialogue here, what is the government ready to do? What policies have you prepared to furthermore push the relationship between Indonesia and African nations in the sense of infrastructure?
Right. Well, thank you very much, Timothy, and again, very good morning to all delegates from 53 countries of African Union. I think we are all in a very high spirit to discuss our issues today, and of course, we will also discuss further cooperation that we can do together. But before I start, let me convey two issues. First, if you check on the goodie bag that we prepared for you, you will find this tumbler. This tumbler is one of the symbols that Indonesia is trying to do our best to live with a more environmentally friendly everyday life. So that's why we try to reduce plastic, and even in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, everywhere we go, our colleagues always bring this tumbler. So we don't use plastic bottle anymore. Second one, if you notice what I'm wearing today, because my colleagues from Indonesia are asking, wow, you are wearing a very nice batik, and I said, yes, this is African batik. So I bought this from Africa, your batik, I think it's very beautiful. Well, Timothy and colleagues, you asked me about the policy. I would like to start with at least a couple years ago. You mentioned about 2015. This is the time that President Joko Widodo started the priority of Indonesian foreign policy in Africa. First is, of course, through the celebration of the 60th anniversary of Asia-Africa Conference. We try to use that platform, again, to pump up the spirit of Asia-Africa, but most importantly, to convert that political bond into the economic bond. So this is just creating a new momentum. And we are now entering a very interesting time in our relation with Africa. And since then, if we look at the data, the statistic that we have, our engagement with Africa is increasing very significantly. I will give you one example. Missions. Because before, it's very rare that you see the Indonesian mission, trade mission, political missions, traveling to Africa. In 2017, there are 17 Indonesian missions visiting Africa. When I talk mission, it means there is really a mixture between politics, economy, very comprehensive missions. And then look at on the 2018, we have around 35 Indonesian missions visiting Africa, so double. It shows significantly our attention is really going to Africa. So why we intensify Indonesian missions going to Africa? Because we really want to see the situation on the ground. We want to see what is the potential that we really can do together. And of course, when we see the potential, at the same time, we see also the challenges that we are facing. And of course, we try to resolve these challenges. Because sometimes we forgot, when we talk Indonesia, Africa, I mentioned it also last year, we see that, we feel that we are close, very close, because we were together since 1955.
Yeah.
But if you look at the statistic, especially the economic statistic, then we will be very surprised that the economic interaction between Indonesia and Africa remains very low. So we don't want to be trapped on the historical romanticism of 1955. What we want is really a strong connection, a strong bond between Indonesia and Africa. Then on the ground also, we see that Indonesian products receive relatively higher tariff compared to similar products from other countries. So from that finding, we try to talk with our colleagues in Africa. And with some countries, we agreed to start negotiating on the PTA, Preferential Trade Agreement. We have done with Mozambique, we are starting with some other countries. So this is a new trade infrastructure that we are trying to build to get a more intensive bilateral trade between Indonesia and Africa. Because if you look at Africa, you have a huge number of population. I think it's about 1.2 billion, is it, the total population of African nation. One continent, 1.2 billion. Indonesia itself is more than 260 million. If we combine Indonesia with ASEAN, so you are talking about more than 600 million people with averagely economic growth above the average global economic growth. So we are not only talking about Indonesia and individual countries of Africa or Indonesia with Africa, but at the same time, Indonesia would like to bridge ASEAN and also Africa. Beyond ASEAN, Indonesia is one of the 16 countries negotiating the Regional Economic Cooperation Partnership, RCEP. We are not yet there, but we are at the very last round of negotiation. When it's done, then RCEP population is more or less 3.5 billion people. Because China, India, Japan, South Korea, ASEAN countries 10, Australia, New Zealand is there. Again, this is the opportunity. So, and in Africa, you have also the economic integration that you call African Continental Free Trade Area. So the economic integration is taking place in Africa, economic integration is taking place in Southeast Asia, and I think Africa, Indonesia, ASEAN, we do believe on the benefit of having the economic integration. And we must make sure that this economic integration will bring benefit to our people. And to support our effort to be closer to Africa in terms of infrastructure, diplomatic infrastructure, we have increased our presence in Africa. For example, our honorary consul in Africa is increasing 70%. So it's really something. So we want really to be in Africa, we want to work together with Africa, and we want to have a success story of the South-South cooperation. Because sometimes people said, what sort of cooperation? I don't believe that it will work. But we, Indonesia and Africa, we must say that yes, South-South Africa can also work. Thank you very much, Timothy.
Thank you, Mr. Marsudi. A very two-way relationship that I see that you have described there. Excellency Odinga, as you come to Bali for these for the dialogues, what have you brought in mind, especially when we're talking about strategic industries that we may cooperate in Indonesia and countries in the African nations?
Thank you very much. as has been said, I'm here in my capacity as African Union High Representative in Infrastructural Development. know that the African Union decided to set up the African Continental Free Trade Area. That came into effect this year, meaning that now the entire African continent is a free market, and African countries are trying to be able to promote more trade among themselves. It has been established that intra-African trade is merely 15%. Intra-Asian trade stands at 50%. And inter-European trade is at 70%. Now first we see Africa needs to trade more with itself. There are certain historical hindrances, mainly to do with, for example, infrastructure. There's very little infrastructural development between African countries. That's why we are promoting infrastructural development, that is physical infrastructure, to connect the African countries so that they can be able to trade more freely. Here, I'm looking at inter-African highways, the high-speed railway connection in the continent, the waterways connections using, for example, the rivers within the continent, the open skies so that we can promote more air transport within the continent, and the fiber optic connections so that you can also be able to interconnect in terms of ICT. And then finally, it's the energy, to be able to link these countries in terms of energy so that they also become energy self-sufficient. Africa is the richest continent in terms of natural resources. It's a paradox that the richest continent is also the poorest in terms of living conditions of people. This is something that the African people are determined to change. That's why it is proper that at this point in time, we should be meeting here in Bali, Indonesia, take stock of where we're coming from and where we really want to go. As you know, that 64 years ago, the first Asia-African conference took place here in Bandung, Indonesia, hosted by the founding president of Indonesia, President Sukarno, attended by the late president of Ghana, Kwame Nkrumah, President Gamal Abdel Nasser of Egypt, Nehru of India, and President Tito of Yugoslavia. It gave birth to Afro-Asian Solidarity Movement, which fought for independence or liberation of all those countries. Now we take stock, we say, that it's now time to move this to greater economic cooperation between Asia and Africa, specifically Indonesia and Africa. That's why we are here. Indonesia is one of the most populous countries today on the continent of Asia. And by global standards, one of the bigger nations in terms of population. African continent today has 1.2 billion people. It's expected to grow to over 2.5 billion in the next 20 years. Africa is therefore going to become one of the biggest markets going forward. We want to promote greater commerce, greater trade with Indonesia. Africa, we want to add more value to our raw materials. That's why we are talking about creating industries to beneficiate the raw materials that are produced by Africans. For example, instead of exporting copper ore, we want to be able to export copper cables. Instead of iron ore, we want to be able to export steel. Instead of exporting bauxite, we want to be able to export aluminum products. This is the region, the area where we can work together with Indonesia, using Indonesian technology for beneficiation of African raw materials, add more value to what Africa produces. We also produce things like cotton, and we want to be able to export linen out of our cotton by setting up bigger textile industries on the continent. Africa produces crude oil, and chemical industries will help us to export chemical products out of the continent of Africa. This is again an opportunity we can work together. We produce a lot of tropical fruits, which also requires a market outside the continent. The fishing industry is also big on the continent. It's also big here. We can benefit from Indonesia's experience. Indonesia is an archipelago, the biggest archipelago in the world. And here we can be able to benefit from the experience of Yugoslavia as we talk about navigation of our rivers in the continent for transport. For example, under the African Union, we are trying to create a navigation along the Nile River to connect the Mediterranean Sea to Lake Victoria in the middle of the continent. Here we again can benefit from the Indonesian experience. In summary, I just want to say, I think that this dialogue poses a great potential to enhance greater cooperation between Indonesia and the continent of Africa. And that's the reason why I've come here to represent the African Union.
Thank you. Excellency Odinga. Excellency Muwabe, if you would like to share with us, especially if we could have a more specific view on the East African community and what we can bring or we can cooperate with when we're talking about strategic industries with Indonesia. Please, Excellency.
Thank you very much. I have come here mainly in connection with I have been seeing the potential in Indonesia, but it is not interpreted on the African continent. And my advice, because look, we cannot live in this world with the countries very self-sufficient and others. I think we can live together if we discover what is lacking to understand each other. And in my own observation, I see relations with Africa need to be put on under the name KASO. Knowledge, ability, skill, and observable behavior. We need to come down to this. Secondly, relations, as my colleague from the African Union has said, relations with Africa, between Indonesia and Africa, started with the visionary leadership who knew that we need to combine our forces to get rid of foreign rule. And that is still kept, and that brought a lot of freedom fighters. Africa was then almost completely unliberated. And the impetus that came from that one continued until recently when South Africa was ultimately liberated. So all these need to follow up you need to follow certain steps for breakthrough that could be supportive to the relations. One, you need educational support. Two, we need to trade. We need to promote trade, commerce, and industrial establishment. Three, you'll need to mount an advertising and public relationship. Effectively project Indonesia to the African market. And we have to trust. We have to build trust. Because you cannot send a container to Uganda, for example, when you have you're not established links with that.
Yeah.
Then we need to build our intellectual and social capital. Because we need really to go deliberate in African countries so that we develop those links. And in my humble contribution, you remember the OIC established the Islamic University in Uganda. And the contribution from the OIC is very small. So they established an Islamic university in Uganda, and I ran to Indonesia because you had, by then, 37 universities. And I told them that the only way is I want to bring here all my first graduates, 40 of them, to be able to do masters and PhDs, so as to be able to supplement the university staff. Now, that alone, there was a lot of debate. It says, okay, in Indonesia, we speak Bahasa Indonesia, even the thesis, we accept them. I said, let's dismantle this colonial way. Because when we go to France, we teach the students there, they learn French. When you take them to England, we are talking English, it's not our mother tongue. Even to Russia. So there is nothing wrong by you accepting these students if learn Bahasa Indonesia.
That would
Because
be great.
in addition, when they go back, they will be your link mate. So this is a practical thing. We have to build a culture of trust for trade. As you know, you cannot trade with anybody. You don't know. If you learn, you must be able where to learn.
Yeah.
Then you have to understand the changing attitudes of traders. The Indonesian people, traders, must move to Africa. They should not regard Africa as a strange country. But our visionary leaders saw it. Now it is time also for the present generation to understand.
Yes.
Now, you need to increase investments and consultancy to the African continent. Because unless you know where you are going, it will be periphery. But when you have got understanding of the Africans, you will be able to accelerate cooperation.
Okay.
Now, opportunities.
Mr. Muwabe, if you would limit to one more minute. Thank you very much. I'm very sorry. Sorry. I apologize for not reminding the speakers. 3-4 minutes, that would be very great. Please continue, Excellency.
There are opportunities in Indonesia. First of all, it's a very big and vast country. You have got trusted people. And you've got good facilities and educated population. And then there is this question of water connectivity, development of IT. These are, you can land on any island. And from there, you can also ship from the same. You don't need to assemble them in Jakarta. Mm-hmm. So you have got tremendous amount of advantages. And for example, to break through on a number of constructions, because when I tell them, you know, I have been on the continent for quite decades. Mm-hmm. Agitator, a youth winger, during the time for struggle for independence. So I am talking about something I have lived up to now. Now, for example, we know that we are under colonial or yoke, and that the only things we knew were made from Britain. Chinese have also come there. But now, you've got very big companies here, like Chiwa. They need to establish presence there, and even with the government support subsidy, be able to tender lower so that they can see what, if it's a road, the African people can walk on a road made by Indonesia. Mm. But need to be done. It's a practical way of how we promote each other. But we have got a potential, and actually Indonesia is there, but it is not seen, especially in East Africa. Gigantic endeavors. So you have already links. All they need is to be strengthened. Mm-hmm. Because if you land, you must land to a certain place, which you know. And I think that's my advice, mm-hmm. which is taken from experience. Visionary leadership combined Indonesia and Africa in a common struggle.
Thank you.
And from there, we have continued. And God has blessed some of us to live through all, and we are still relevant in our nations. So you are not, and you have trained in Uganda alone. Since I brought the 40 here, some have married even Indonesian girls.
Yep.
These are links, physical links, which we should not throw away. And you have got every potential. Make sure that we benefit from the IT, from the industry, from the goods from this area.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Excellency Muwabe. Now, I would just like to remind, I realize that the microphone is not at the best position, I guess, but I would like to remind all speakers that talk closer to the microphone. Maybe we should have put it on the right, but anyway, we apologize for the position so that everyone could hear what is said here. And also for everyone, you could submit your questions to Slido. Now you could just, if you would like to try now, you could take out your smartphones or your gadgets or your laptop, open the web browser, sli.do, and this is the hashtag, the event code that you would put in, or you just type that in, hashtag IAID 2019, IAID 2019. And you could join, you could submit your questions there, or you could just give a thumbs up to the questions that you think should be asked in this panel. I'd like to continue with Excellency Kante. I'd like to know, most especially about Senegal Emergent, how could Indonesia or Asian countries take part in also making this a success, the plans of the Senegal Emergent? Please, Excellency.
Je voudrais d'abord féliciter le gouvernement.
Yeah. I guess I'm missing mine. Ada penerjemahnya? Saya boleh minta penerjemah satu? Oh. Ada? Please.
Okay?
Thank you.
Je voudrais d'abord féliciter le gouvernement indonésien d'avoir organisé cette conférence et d'avoir choisi un thème centré sur le dialogue des infrastructures. Madame le ministre des Affaires étrangères que j'ai rencontré l'année dernière l'a rappelé tout à l'heure, le lien entre l'Indonésie et l'Afrique est en effet un lien historique. Number two,
Yes, you just select the language on your right.
is okay?
I guess this is one of the challenges that we will have to face. Maybe we need technical support on the English translations, please. Please continue. Excellent.
Yes. Donc, elle a bien fait de rappeler ce lien fort qui est parti de la conférence de Bandung en 1955, qui avait réuni ce qu'on appelait en son temps les pays non alignés. Il est bon de le rappeler parce qu'il y avait le bloc de l'Ouest qui correspondait aux pays membres de l'OCDE, le bloc de l'Est, c'était la bataille entre les blocs. Il y avait des pays oubliés et qui avaient un même destin, ce qu'on appelait le tiers-monde. Définition qui avait été donnée par un chercheur qui s'appelait Alfred de Sauvy. Donc, ces pays-là savaient déjà ce qu'ils voulaient à travers leurs dirigeants visionnaires. Et quand je vois devant moi le nom de certains pays comme l'Égypte, dans son temps Gamal Abdel Nasser, la Côte d'Ivoire de Houphouët-Boigny, je vois la Guinée de Sékou Touré, je vois le Ghana, ce sont des figures historiques du haut du ciel aujourd'hui qui doivent être satisfaits en voyant le lien fort qui a été maintenu entre l'Afrique et aujourd'hui l'Indonésie. C'est vrai, madame, vous avez raison, l'amplitude, l'interaction économique n'a pas suivi pour des raisons que je ne vais pas développer. Mais ce qui est sûr aujourd'hui, c'est que nous ne sommes plus en 1960 quand René Dumont disait que l'Afrique était mal partie. Incontestablement, l'Afrique est bien partie aujourd'hui à cause de la qualité des dirigeants que nous avons, qui sont des visionnaires, qui savent ce qu'ils veulent. Je peux donner l'exemple du Sénégal que je vis en tant que ministre en charge du plan Sénégal émergent, et à cause de la vision du président Macky Sall, notre économie s'est métamorphosée dans tous les plans. Les statistiques que nous avons entre 1960 et 2012 l'ont montré. En termes d'infrastructures, si je prends par exemple l'électrification, entre 1960 et 2012, nous avions au Sénégal que 1648 villages électrifiés. 1648 villages électrifiés. C'est-à-dire des indépendances en 2000, avant l'arrivée du président Macky Sall, les autres gouvernements ont électrifié sur la base de 29 villages par an. 29. Dans le cadre du premier plan quinquennal, nous avons électrifié sur la base de 554 villages par an. Je peux en dire autant dans le domaine de l'agriculture. Nous produisions 469 000 tonnes de riz et nous en importions 800 000 tonnes chaque année. En un plan quinquennal, nous en avons produit 1 140 000. C'est-à-dire que nous avons augmenté la production de 600 000 tonnes. Je peux en dire autant sur l'horticulture, sur les routes, les infrastructures en termes de connectivité interne et en termes de connectivité externe. Et c'est là où le thème de cette conférence est assez importante et intéressante, parce que l'infrastructure est un postulat important pour l'émergence d'un pays. Je ne reviendrai pas sur la définition de l'émergence, mais je peux donner l'exemple de Goldman Sachs, la banque Goldman Sachs, qui a défini 5 critères. Critères population, critères croissance, critères urbanisation, critères infrastructure, c'est-à-dire il faut des ponts, il faut des routes, il faut des chemins de fer, entre autres, mais critères stabilité politique. Et aujourd'hui, si nous en jugeons à travers l'Indonésie, elle a pu choisir sa route depuis longtemps. Je vais donner un autre exemple. Hier, quand j'ai visité le complexe de Bali, 350 hectares, et j'ai posé la question à M. Erwin, le directeur de Bali, depuis quand avez-vous commencé ce projet? Ça date des années 80. Donc il a fallu une très bonne vision, articulée sur un très bon modèle économique, pour pouvoir réussir ce projet touristique que nous avons aujourd'hui. L'Afrique aujourd'hui a besoin de ce genre de partenariat, parce que les Africains savent ce qu'ils veulent maintenant. Nous avons de l'eau, nous avons du soleil, nous avons des matières premières. Il nous faut maintenant les transformer à travers un bon système d'industrialisation, parce que les pays qui ont émergé l'ont été à travers l'industrialisation, que ce soit l'Angleterre, les États-Unis, le Japon, la Russie, l'Argentine, tous ces pays qui ont pu émerger, c'est à partir de l'industrialisation. Donc, ce partenariat entre l'Indonésie et l'Afrique qui se dessine est une graine d'espoir, en tout cas pour les pays africains, qui pourrait nous aider à atteindre un objectif stratégique qui est celui de l'émergence.
Thank you very much, Excellency Kante. Thank you very much. This describes how important strategic industries is to develop, or the development of every nation, I guess, including Indonesia. And what have we done in Indonesia? Now I would like to talk to the 3 leaders of very successful strategic industries here in the country. We've heard that from Excellency Muwabe that also air, land, and also the seas are all ready for development, and also it has been a great, it will be a great connector to all these nations also in Africa, and they are ready. Now, Pak Budiman Saleh, if you would open first, the President Director of PT PAL Indonesia. First, I would like to congratulate PT PAL for releasing your latest submarine, I guess the Alugoro 405. And this makes Indonesia the only submarine manufacturer in Southeast Asia. Is that true? Okay, congratulations on that. So, if you would just share with us your PT PAL's experience in also exporting and manufacturing for foreign countries or internationally, the experience of PT PAL, and also in Africa, I believe you already have.
Thank you very much, Timothy. First of all, I would like to, I'm just wondering that everybody also wondering as well, that what is PT PAL? PAL doesn't show any relation with the shipbuilding name in it. But anyhow, PT PAL is shipbuilding company, the biggest shipbuilding company in Indonesia. It is a state-owned enterprise company, 100% owned by the government. And before I started discussing about PT PAL, I would like to convey my appreciation to the Minister, Excellency. My job was in the aerospace industry originally. I crisscrossed the African countries in 2006, starting from Kenya, Uganda, Mali, Bamako, all the way to Senegal. Finally, I ended up in Guinea-Conakry, Guinea-Bissau, and also Senegal. And I was lucky at that time. We sold aircraft, CN-235, as well as new aircraft, as well as the second-hand aircraft, refurbished aircraft. And then since 2006 up to 2014 and 2016, I fell in love with Africa, to be honest. The culture, the diversity, the food, the picturesque view, you have all. And 2017, I was transferred to PT PAL, Indonesian Shipbuilding Company, and I tried to revisit and also to revitalize the networking that I already have in Africa. But I realized that at this moment, I'm much more focused in Asian region, and also for the self-sufficiency of Indonesian military armed forces. So I left Africa a bit late, probably 2020, 2021, I started to be going there again. But anyhow, we have business in PT PAL, starting from naval vessel, commerce or merchant vessel, and we also embark in energy, oil and gas, as well as the most important thing to support Indonesian program, our President, electricity. So those are the areas that PT PAL are pretty much involved with, okay? And being, as you said, third country, and I'm quite happy that we are developing country. And if you can see it from the screen, we are very fortunate to manufacture 230 ships, which 84 of the 230 are naval vessels, heavy on weapon, heavy on sensor, and pretty much used by the armed forces, Indonesia as well as abroad. 45 are exports. So those are the figures that very, very encouraging for Indonesia. And this is very important to have a South-to-South cooperation, because we know exactly that the market is there in Africa as well as in Asian regions. You are talking about the quality-wise. We follow everything and we enhance everything what we got from the Western countries. There is no restriction, there is no embargo, and we would like to be independent in terms of using and utilizing for the best of our own people. And if you are looking at the general engineering, as I mentioned earlier, for oil and gas, as well as the electricity, we are very, very lucky. We produce 282 around Indonesia. And our iconic product, first is LPD, it's vessel, landing platform docks. We live in the Ring of Fire. Indonesia is located, geographically located in the Ring of Fire.
Yep.
Very prone for earthquake, what have you. So LPD, landing platform dock, has a multi-role, not only for military operations, but non-military operations. Suitable for deployment, for the emergency evacuation, catastrophic, and many others. Yeah, for example, with the accident of AirAsia, or even Lion Air, the vessel very, very useful. And this LPD has various variants. We learn from Korea, South Korea. This is something that I would like to share with our counterpart from Africa. We are very open to educate, we are very open to transfer of technology. Like what I did in Senegal with the aircraft, military and non-military. In terms of the vessel, we learned everything from Korea. We made major modification. We introduced newer production technology. So instead of producing 2 units in 6 years, we can produce 2 units in 3 years. A big, remarkable achievement. The variants can be multi-role ship, like Malaysian use, 143 meters, or Thailand, 163. Or even there was once a request from Senegal for the 100 meters length. But the versatility of the function is very good. Both meet the vessel will meet both the military as well as non-military. At last, not least, is offshore patrol vessel, because Africa is also just like Indonesia. We are very close to water, maritime countries. Offshore patrol vessel is very good to do the patrolling. We have so many variants, and we even tested our vessel in Europe. So the design is 100% owned by Indonesians. There are so many opportunities that I believe Asian and also African countries can utilize the existence of PT PAL as the shipbuilder company in Indonesia. Last but not least, we also propose the scheme of financing, working together between PT PAL and Indo-Exim, which is for export-import. But of course, there are some regulation that needs to be followed in detail.
Okay.
And I believe our counterpart from Indo-Exim will have the chance through different sessions. I think that will be all, Timothy.
Thank you.
I encourage everybody here to visit our booth, PT PAL. We are located next door, and it's easy to find PT PAL booth in the hallway. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Budiman. So I see so far with Africa is only with Egypt. I'm sure PT PAL is ready to open to other African countries as well. Moving on, next is a very familiar face, I guess, for the African community, especially those in certain countries where PT Wijaya Karya has reached. But Tumiyana, Algiers at least has been since 2013, as far as I know. So would you please tell us how has business been a cooperation with African countries, and also go as far as what difficulties did you have to go through and how did you tackle them, please?
Thank you, Timothy. Wijaya Karya is one of the SOE company in Indonesia. At the moment, we have established in Algeria since 2013.
But Tumiyana, if you would speak closer to the mic, please.
Sorry?
Speak closer to the mic, please. Thank you.
We have a lot of projects in surrounding Africa at the moment. Currently, we built 7,000 of residential in Algeria. Indonesia, we have a portfolio for infrastructure, for MRT. At the moment, we have a high-speed train from Jakarta to Bandung. We have a contract on hand is around about 7.5 billion US. We lead consortium from China corporation. The other one is a portfolio for Wijaya Karya is a power plant. The numbers of power plant in Indonesia at the moment is close to 35,000 megawatt. 12.8 thousand megawatt is built by Wijaya Karya. The other portfolio we have experienced is dam. 20 dam at the moment is built by us, and then the other one is airport. The airport is Indonesia is 60% numbers of airport in Indonesia is built by Wijaya Karya. Industrial, we have 4 million concrete factory ton, 4 million ton per year capacity, and then still fabrication we have 100,000 ton per year capacity. The investment portfolio, we goes to the power plant, airport, and then numbers of spending Wijaya Karya have planned for capex spending per year is 1.6 billion US. This is consists of infrastructure and power plant, and then realty. Contract on hand we have at the moment is 150 trillion surrounding Indonesia, and then 10% come from the total contract value we have is overseas. Africa mainly, and then Taiwan, we have 2 projects in there for bridge and then airport under arrangement at the moment. Then in region, Philippines, Myanmar, and Malaysia. That's all about Wijaya Karya. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Tumiyana. I guess if you would share with us later on as I continue the panel. Now, moving on, Pak Budi Noviantoro from PT INKA. What I know is that this year and last year has been a very busy year for PT INKA in production. Your production line is very rapid. And what my question is, if we do get any cooperation here from our event, would you still have the power, the space in your factory to create more and more trains? Would you tell us what your plan is and why you would still continue to push production as well as cooperation, especially with countries from Africa who are here now?
Yeah, thank you very much, Timothy. So first of all, I would like to introduce the INKA, the detail. The INKA is one is of the rolling stock manufactured in Indonesia and I think it's in Asia. So we produce locomotive, wagon, and also with the passenger coach, everything, LRT, MRT. And we belong by government, state-owned enterprises, established on 1981. We produce for the wagon around the up to now, up to the, I think is 8,000 wagons and also the other passengers. Yes, now we have the contract with the Bangladesh, yeah, for the export, around 250 somethings. And all the deliver in the last 2 months, 50 and plus 21. And every month should be delivered up to 20. Yeah, hopefully at the end of this year should be finished for the Bangladesh project. So, and also the other hand, we under processing for the Philippines. We have contract around the more or less for the Bangladesh is around 100 million US dollars for the Bangladesh, and for the Philippines we have contract around this more or less is 50 something, yeah. and consists of DMU, diesel multi-units. So hopefully end of this month will be delivered in Philippines. So the first time INKA deliver for the passenger with the diesel move. So Bangladesh is just passenger coaches, no power anymore. But now we're starting to deliver 2 set diesel multi-unit to the Philippines.
Okay.
Totally should be have 6 transit and 3 locomotive. Yeah, this Philippines. So talk about the Africans. African is a very, very potential market for us. So because, you know, this is most of the Africa is landlocked. They need infrastructure, transportation, yeah, such as a railway. So, but the problem is some countries still have a financial problem.
Okay.
So based on that we propose at least offering for the schema for the business. One is the buys credits, the second is in BUT, and the last one is of the counter trade. But I prefer number 1 and number 2, more simple. Yeah. So besides that, we also invite my colleague from state-owned enterprises. So in Africa, we already set up the consortium, incorporated state-owned enterprises. I call it the Indonesia Railway Development Incorporated for Africa. This is special for Africa.
Oh.
So consists of INKA, WIKA, and land. This for beginning.
Okay.
But of course, plus Indonesia Exchange Bank.
Okay.
So beside that, because I know, for example, right now we finalize the business with Madagascar. Yeah, Madagascar, they have youth mining, for example, with the chrome and also the bauxite. Yeah, they already produce and deliver from the other countries, but the capacity a month is around 5,000 tons. They need more than that. They need up to 100 or 120,000 tons per month. So, but the problem is a transportation problem. So by the truck, right now just 5,000. Should be split track or railway system. So based on that, we have some calculation. If I call it my colleague from Madagascar, Chroma, this is a state-owned enterprise company in Madagascar. So and then we join with my friend from, let's say, Aneka Tambang, the mining company, and they join together to produce something on theirs, and then me as a transporter will be deliver the product for the mining to the port.
Okay.
Yeah. So for the end user, the market from enterprise like Aneka Tambang or PT Timah will be joined with the partner in Madagascar.
Okay.
For the mining. So they produce chrome ore, they produce bauxite, everything, and then they deliver by railway, which is we bid by Tumiyana with new line to mining to the port. Okay. So this is why I think is of course we need support by Indonesia Exchange Bank.
For
So
the
this is a camp. So it depends the situation on African countries. So, but I believe that the number 1 and number 2 is the best one. The more simple, and then we can realize for this scheme of business.
Okay. Thank you very much, Budi Noviantoro. Now, I would like to ask also everyone here if you would like to submit your questions. I think we still have around 15 minutes, but I would like to know more from Excellencies about how you've heard about what companies, and this is probably just a small group of strategic industries that we have here in Indonesia who are ready to support the development of infrastructure in African nations. Now, what would make you welcome Indonesian companies and counterparts Also, how could we compete in Africa compared to, of course, international players coming from China, America, from Japan? If you would please answer. I would like to start with Excellency Kante, if you would like to share with us, how could we compete from nations from Asia, from Indonesia? What would you like to see to welcome Indonesian companies? You were talking about trains. I'm pretty sure that INKA is very ready for that.
Oui, un partenariat solide. Un partenariat solide, solide, ça veut dire un partenariat gagnant-gagnant, où l'Indonésie va venir en Afrique avec son savoir-faire, avec des capitaux, mais œuvrer pour un transfert de technologie. C'est ça le vrai partenariat. L'Afrique n'a plus besoin d'aide. Nous avons un besoin d'enrichir les infrastructures d'abord, du capital humain. Parce que l'année passée, quand je suis venu en Indonésie, j'ai bien observé le système éducatif indonésien, qui est un très bon système éducatif de l'éducation de base aux universités. J'ai visité le ministère des Affaires religieuses. J'ai compris que l'Indonésie était un pays fondamentalement ancré dans sa tradition, fondamentalement ancré dans sa religion musulmane, mais un pays ouvert à l'extérieur. Et c'est assez important pour nous, pour favoriser le dialogue entre l'Indonésie et les pays africains. Nous en avons besoin. Nous avons besoin d'infrastructures. J'ai donné l'exemple de ITDC tout à l'heure, parce que nous avons un grand projet. Je ne dirais pas un projet sénégalais, mais un projet africain avec l'Indonésie, c'est la tour de Gorée. Gorée est une île qui a participé d'abord à la formation de la mondialisation à travers le commerce triangulaire. L'échange qui se faisait en Afrique, les esclaves en Europe, voilà ce commerce triangulaire-là qui a diffusé un peu l'universalisme un peu partout, aux États-Unis, à Cuba, au Brésil, etc. Donc cette île qui a participé à la construction d'une civilisation universelle. Ce projet-là, je pense que le MOU va être signé cet après-midi entre INKA, ITDC, le ministère du patrimoine bâti. C'est un bel exemple de coopération culturelle. Parce que l'émergence, d'abord, est un processus culturel avant d'être un processus matériel. Elle passe par une vision claire, nette et précise. Cette vision-là se traduit en programme. Il faut financer ce programme-là. Comment? En tout cas, chez nous, les Sénégalais sont conscients qu'ils doivent payer des impôts. Ce sont les impôts qui financent d'abord les programmes économiques. Deuxièmement, l'endettement. Mais pas n'importe quel endettement. Parce que l'Afrique a connu des cycles d'endettement où même des présidents étaient beaucoup plus riches que les dettes extérieures. Cette génération de présidents-là, c'est banni maintenant en Afrique. Il faut maintenant un partenariat, mais un partenariat gagnant-gagnant. Il va favoriser l'industrialisation de l'Afrique. Il faut que nos matières premières soient transformées en Afrique par les Africains eux-mêmes à travers des partenariats gagnant-gagnant. Et maintenant, le reste, c'est un brassage culturel qui va essayer de créer les conditions d'une Afrique libre, d'une Afrique unie, mais ouverte aux autres coopérations.
Thank you very much. Excellency Kante. I guess I would like to go straight to the question since we do not have much time yet, because I see very excellent questions here on Slido. This is for AU, should be for Mr. Odinga, I guess. So is there a coordinated approach by African Union on collaboration of African countries with Indonesia, or each country in its own?
As you know that the African Union has got a total membership of 54 countries. Out of these 54 countries, by the last summit that was held in Niamey, in Niger, just last month, 53 had signed the African Free Trade Area Agreement. And following that, Eritrea is the only one has also signed, making now Africa one common market, and actually the biggest market in the world today. The AU has what we call Vision 2063. Aimed at integrating the African economies, creating greater integration and trade among these countries. And one of the instruments that is being used is to enhance more communication through development of physical infrastructure, as I mentioned. We have, for example, highways, what you call the Trans-African highways, have been identified. There are 6, there's what you call the Cape to Cairo, Cape Town to Cairo in North Africa. Then there's Tripoli, the Cape.
Okay.
And there is the Trans-Sahara from Dakar in Senegal through N'Djamena in Chad up to Djibouti, the Horn of Africa. Then there is Dakar to Lagos. Then there's Lagos to Mombasa, linking the west to the east. And all these, they are what you call, some of them have already been developed. They are what you call the missing links to complete the highways.
So this is between countries or cross countries. The cooperation or when this was operated or initiated, was it with the AU only, or did the companies or the nations approach each country that this crosses?
You've got new Partnership for African Development, NEPAD, which is an organization under the AU, which came up with these highways, identified them as critical links between the countries. They pass through countries, so what we do is we work with the countries through which the highways pass.
Okay.
And those who cannot raise the capital for development, we help them raise the capital to complete.
I see.
Now, like the one going Cape Town to Cairo, they're on a small link somewhere between Ethiopia and Sudan to complete. The other one from Tripoli to Cape, the major missing link, there's a bridge across the Congo River,
So
linking Kinshasa and Brazzaville.
this gives a picture of how it is operated when Indonesian companies also want to cooperate with African countries. This gives a picture of that. I believe Minister Marsudi also has a follow-up question for Mr. Odinga.
Mr. Odinga, I would like to know a little bit more on the African Continental Free Trade Area, as you mentioned. This is the intra-trade in the African continent, right? My question is, when are you going to be ready to engage other bloc of the regional trade area from others? Because one is, of course, you try to consolidate internally, bit among the African continent, but of course, the long-term intention is also to engage bloc-to-bloc trade arrangement.
Yes, as you rightly say, you have got the blocks, like you got the SADC, the Southern African Development Corporation. Then you've got the East African Community in the east. Then you've got ECOWAS in the west. And then you've got the Central African Community. And then the Maghreb. We encourage intra-regional bloc trade first, and then we want to go beyond those regional blocks to link the rest of the continent. And that's the reason why we are coming up with this infrastructural development to open up the entire continent and also come up with the proper, trade regulations, the tariffs, like for example, the common tariffs, so that we remove the tariff barriers for trade among these countries. So we want to increase, for example, right now it is about 15%, as I mentioned. The first phase we want to go to 25%, and furthermore, we are encouraging intra-African trade, but at the same time, we are also encouraging more trade with the other parts, what we call non-traditional trading partners. As you know, it has been north-south in the past. Most of the African countries have been trading with their colonial masters. That was the link before. That's why we are encouraging the South-South cooperation.
All right.
And we see that this Indonesia-Africa is actually enhancing the South-South cooperation. And we believe that Indonesia has got the technology and the experience that is fairly relevant to the African situation. That Indonesia can benefit and Africa can benefit. So it becomes a mutual kind of relationship.
Okay.
And we enhance South-South cooperation.
All right. Thank you, Excellency Odinga. Now, just a little for Excellency Muwabe, I would like to know how can Indonesia and also our strategic industries can take part in the East African Community Vision 2050? I guess that would be an interesting initiative for us to also take part to succeed.
I cannot tell you this offhand, but the most important is the cotton industry. Cotton industry. Cotton. To do linen.
Linen, I see.
Yeah.
Cotton industry.
Now, even in East Africa and as a region, the heads of states said they are tired of getting second-hand clothes, shoes from Europe, because that's a very tremendous amount of trade. And they resolved that let's try to find a way how to establish our own textile industries. Now, that is already a vacuum, but we still have some cottons exported, even to Indonesia. So why do you have to establish an industry of cotton? Why don't you establish it there?
Interesting.
So that you will be able to sell to the immediate and also to the others.
Okay. That's a great business idea right there, I guess.
And the other one is the shoes.
Shoes.
Because 10 years ago, almost 3/4 of Africans were walking directly on the earth. Yes, we have we began eating a lot of cows. The skins are exported free in raw form, and they come back in shoes in a very expensive.
Okay.
So, yeah, actually, we want industry in all fields. We want industry in all fields. The question is, for example, the Chinese have broken through, whereby we have got industrial parks. They come and establish their machinery in that area.
I see.
And, so that they create a market for the local and also for Africa and for the international.
All right. Thank you for sharing that, Excellency Muwabe. I guess that a lot of you would be interested in that in the future. Now, I have questions for the three gentlemen at the very edge. If you would all answer shortly. Interesting question here that the cooperation between Indonesia and Africa is very weak, also have compared to China. Now, what strategy is Indonesia putting in to improve this? And I'd like to know from your place of what strategies are you putting in, very briefly, to compete with these companies, considering that Africa has a very close economic relation with China as well. Please, yes, please.
Basically, the answer is very simple. As mentioned by the minister, promotion campaign or mission is a must. I believe we've seen some changes from 2006 up to 2014, and more Indonesian government or business missions coming to Africa. That's simple. And it has to be backed by financial scheme.
Backed by financials. Pak Tumiyana?
Timothy, the first I have idea to all of the members of meeting today. The last discussion is
so many times.
if we have agreement or cooperation between Indonesian Exim Bank and then all of the African Exim Bank to increase the capacity each other, and then Indonesia corporate going to come to all of the African country more, Asia compared at the moment. If we increase the capacity of bank each other and then we do cooperation, makes all corporate doing together in Africa. That's my idea. Thank you.
Okay. Pak Budi?
Yes, for the rolling stock, it is interested because of I know that the Japan, also for the China, this was dominated for the project in the Africa because of they bring money. Yeah, that is a problem. So that's why I understand that we discussed with my colleague in the incorporated company in Indonesia and also the Exim Bank. So should we bring money to Africa? Yeah, that is key. Yeah, no money, no projects.
That's true.
So that is point. Yeah, so technically, I think it's like our products in the Bangladesh. We can compete with China.
Yeah.
We get a project three contract. Yeah, funded by IDB. This is international bidding. So it's mean they accept my products and more or less same for the quality, but yeah, they bring money. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Plain truth right there. So to summarize everything, I guess it's very interesting. Yes, I guess money plays a big part there, but as the Excellencies have also described, that Africa also wants to share more, share technology, share knowledge, and also education, as has been said here. So how far are we going to go, Minister Marsudi, when it comes to, when we're talking about the close ties with Africa? It's not only about business. So what are we going to bring there, and what are we going to share, and what are they going to also share with us in Indonesia?
I think if the question is how far we can go, the answer is unlimited. Because, you know, to be very honest to you, again, for so long, we are trapped in the historical romanticism. We feel that we are close to each other, but when it comes to the concrete cooperation, we are far from each other. So the momentum was created, started from 2015, and we will work very hard. We understand that we have stronger competitors, like our colleague mentioned, China, India, Japan. But I think Indonesia will be able to offer different schemes that other countries maybe don't have it. And in terms of the potential, I think Africa has unlimited potential or huge potential that will be too big to be filled only one or two countries. So Indonesia would like, again, I just want to reiterate the commitment of Indonesia that we want to be part of your development, and of course, Indonesia wants that Africa could be also part of Indonesia development.
Thank you very much. I could not wrap it up better than that. So, ladies and gentlemen, Excellencies, please give a round of applause to all my panelists here. Thank you very much, Minister Marsudi. Thank you very much, Excellency Odinga dan Excellency Muwabe, Excellency Kante, Pak Budiman, Pak Tumiyana, dan juga Pak Budi. Terima kasih banyak. So, I would like to return the stage to the MC. Thank you very much. I'm Timothy Marbun. I'll see you again. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Let's put our hands together once again to all speakers and moderator, and also to all active participants.